Alright, wonderful world of lighting. I'm going to be linking to quite a few really good tutorials on lighting. I highly recommend you watch all of them. Some of them will be a little redundant, but all of them sort of cover the concepts behind lighting in different ways, and it's really important because lighting is really it's fundamental to what video is about, and as we'll talk about it. But there are lots of different ways to approach it, lots of different things to think about going into it. But first, let's get started about what exactly does light do? What is it about? I'd like to start with looking at this image. This is Cinderella, for those of you not familiar with it. This is made by an artist by the name of Scott Gustafson, a very talented artist. Now I want you to look at this image. Where is the light coming from in this image? All right, well, the real simple idea is that it's right here in the middle. It's coming from her dress. It lights up like a light bulb. In fact, almost looks like an upside down light bulb. However, this is a painting. This was not made with light, real light. This was an artist simulating light. And I like to use this when I start discussing lighting because it's really what brings home why we light, because we are creating images, or we're duplicating images with technology, but that technology, in order to make it work so that it actually makes things look real, you have to think about what artists have been doing to make light look real. So again, consider her dress. Consider what's happening with this dress. Why does it look like the light is coming from her dress? This is an illusion. What creates this is contrast. And contrast is always, when you talk about contrast, it's light versus dark. It's the light, how much light is compared to how much dark. Contrast is what makes things visible for us. It's how we determine and see shape. All goes back to the ultimate light source that all of us and everyone on this entire planet has, the sun. We always orient ourselves from shadow based off of where the sun is coming from. All right, the technical term for contrast is it is the scale of the difference between black and white in your image. Now this is scale, so it's going from complete black all through the levels of grays up into bright white light. And now we're talking about gray also. We're not, when we're talking contrast, we're not even necessarily talking about black versus white. We're talking about dark versus bright is probably the best way to talk about it. But the easiest way to conceptualize it is going from black to white with all the grayscales in between. Without contrast, and I'm going to go through this because this is very important. Without contrast, you would not have an image because there wouldn't be any differentiation between light and dark. Everything would be black or white or a single shade of gray somewhere in the middle. What I'm getting at with this, and this will come through more as we're going along, take a closer look at this image. Go back a second. In particular, we are looking at this part of the horse right here. We're going to zoom in. What shows us the shape of this horse? I'm going to read here what I have written. Look at the bright and dark parts of the horse. The side that is closest to the light is brighter than the parts that are away from the light. Its shoulder casts a shadow that helps us see the line of the neck. We gain a sense of how round its neck is because of the slow, graduated change from light to dark as it gets farther from the light source. What I'm getting at here is if you look closely right here at the horse, on this part of the horse, the part of the horse that's closest, Let me change the color of my pen here. Is that easier to see? No, I want to go with the yellow. The part of the horse that is closest to our light source is bright. The part of our horse that is far away or farther away from our light source is dark. All right. Going back around here, this is what we're looking at. Closer is brighter. Farther away is darker. It's dark. It's how we can tell shape at our most fundamental level. As babies, the first things we learn to do, to see, is understanding the difference between contrast, between light and dark. It's just how we see shape. If we see something's bright, oh, it's close to something, it's facing a light source. If we see something that's dark, we go, oh, that side of it must be away from the light source. It's how we determine shape, how we see shape. And this gradient going on here is largely, we're going in, the gradient that we have there is what helps sell us that look. Yeah, look in here. We can tell there's a divot in the shoulder there, right? There's a divot in the shoulder going on here. And we know that there's a divot in that shoulder going on there because we have a bright light source over here shining down, and this shoulder blade here, which is really bright, is casting a shadow down into here. And we just know on an instinctual basis that our brain determines that this is a divot in the shoulder because, oh, bright over here, bright here, so these two things are together, and we understand that there's some depth here because of the shadow. That's how we build shape. That's how we perceive shape. Going in closer, just want to get a little bit more on this divot here. Take a look as we get closer. You can really see here. Bright over here, that's closest to the light source. A gradation going down to the darker divot, and then we have a brighter area up here, which we can now know there's nothing blocking that area because the light is still hitting it. Again, these are all subtle things that are going on in our mind that we don't even realize as we're determining shapes, how we see shape. That's why we light. When we're lighting things, when you're lighting objects, you have to think about this. Just going a little bit tighter because it's kind of harder to see here. All right, hopefully this will make it a little bit easier to see. All right, so reading the text. In short, without a proper amount of contrast, images will not appear to have 3 dimensions. Even when we artificially light an object, it is in the cinematography that we must keep these concepts upmost in our mind. If you look at all these images, image number 1, it's a circle. This is a circle too. Why does this one look like a sphere? Why does it look like a ball? And this one just looks like a circle. What makes a circle start looking like a circle, or stop looking like a circle and become a sphere, is this concept of contrast. So we look at this first circle here again. It's just white. Imagine you have a completely white ball on a same shade, exact, completely white floor with absolutely no shadow. How can you see it? It's not until you start seeing shadow that you even know something's there. And how you know where an object is. If you look at this next image here, the light is coming from the top where the arrow is pointing, right around here. And as the shadow falls off around the edges, that's how we can see where the edge is. That's what we're trying to build. If you look at these images over here, what makes us tell that they're off the ground? It's their shadows. It's their shadows that are telling us that they're off the ground. So, and also the light source is coming from there. So as you start to learn more about crafting light and crafting lighting for a scene, you always have to be cognizant of where is that light coming from? Where is my light source? How is the shadow going to affect my image? And it really is the difference between making something look vibrant and almost alive on screen versus something very blah and flat and just not very realistic. It's all in the lighting and how you pull that lighting off. Because of this, there are many techniques I've developed for lighting a scene, but chief among these lighting techniques is called the 3-point setup. That's going to be the focus of the next lecture. Between now and then, on Blackboard, I'm going to be listing about 2 or 3 tutorials on a basic 3-point setup. Make sure you watch those first, because they'll give you a good understanding of seeing how and where you place the lights for a 3-point setup. And what my next lecture is going to do is really break that down and help us to look at what's happening in that scene. Why is it so important to use this? All right, thank you.